Hello and welcome to my submission to the 2020 National History Day Breaking Barriers Project, a documentary. My documentary is going to explain how Germany united and how Germany broke the barrier of French continental dominance. Anyways, let's get started. For most of modern European history, France was a power to be reckoned with, and under Napoleon Bonaparte I, France almost conquered Europe. France being the most powerful in Europe meant that a balance of power in Europe could not be achieved because whichever side France was on would want to break European peace because that side could easily crush the opposing side. A solution to this problem was a unified Germany, a power that could stand up to France on its own. Germany uniting would break the French barrier of continental dominance and bring an end to major European wars for 43 years. Now time to explain how Germany united and its effects in detail. So, before we start talking about the actual unification of Germany and its effects, we need to talk about the political situation in Europe in the mid to late 1800s, as a basic knowledge of this is needed to understand the unification of Germany. So, in 1862, a German named Otto von Bismarck was appointed Chancellor to one of the many German states at the time. However, the one he was appointed to was Prussia, led by its king, Wilhelm I. Prussia was one of the strongest German powers in the German Confederation, a loose confederation of most German states formed in the Congress of Vienna. Also, don't forget that Prussia was a nation that was renowned for their military discipline and strength. Prussia, under the leadership of Bismarck, wanted to unite Germany, as a Germany united is much stronger than one not united, which was the state Germany had been since Napoleon dissolved the HRE. However, Bismarck had a special vision for the unification of Germany. He wanted to unite it through blood and iron, as he believed the majority decisions and speeches of the Congress of Vienna, aka the German Confederation, had failed in creating a healthy and stable Germany. Now, remember that there were other strong powers in the German Confederation? Yeah, the strongest other power was Austria, led by the Habsburg royal family and also technically the leader of the German Confederation. Austria was a nation that had many cultural problems and was on the verge of collapsing due to many reasons, one being how Austria was a nation led by Germans, and German people only consisted of 21.6% of their country's population. The problem is, when you have a nation that is led by Germans, and German is not the primary culture of your nation, the other cultures want to rebel against you. Austria, however, survived through these problems, even through Prussia challenging them for the de facto title of leader of Germany. So, you are probably wondering how Prussia got strong enough to challenge Austria. They did this by gaining trust and alliances with the North German nations and by gaining strength. By the way, Prussia could not ally the Southern German nations because Austria had allied them. Prussia gained the trust of the North German nations by splitting Schleswig-Holstein, a Danish state, with Austria. This earned Prussia the North German state's trust because Denmark integrated Schleswig into Denmark proper, and them doing this was a violation of the London Protocol, a treaty keeping the peace between Denmark and the German states. So Prussia splitting Schleswig-Holstein with Austria, specifically Holstein going to Austria and Schleswig going to Prussia, would be liberating Schleswig-Holstein from Denmark, and therefore making Prussia seem like a liberator, not a warmonger, while also making Prussia stronger, as more land is more money and more power. After Prussia gained trust and alliances with the North German states and had gained more strength, they were ready to take on Austria and her southern German allies. But they could not mindlessly challenge Austria for dominance over Germany. They needed a casus belli, Latin for a reason to declare war. Soon, in 1866, Prussia fabricated a casus belli against Austria, stating that the administration of Schleswig-Holstein should go to Prussia and not split. Prussia also wanted the war to be quick and easy, so they needed to give Austria a distraction. This distraction was Italy, so Prussia allied Italy so Austria could send more troops to the Italian border and not the Prussian border, making the war easier for the Prussians. Soon after all this, war was declared in June, and the battle for Germany started, and ended 7 weeks later, with Prussia crushing Austria in the Battle of Königgrätz, and signing peace with Austria in August of '66 with the Treaty of Prague. In the Treaty of Prague, Prussia wanted to be lenient on Austria, as Bismarck believed that a healthy Austria could be a future German ally. However, Prussia still got what it wanted. In this treaty, Prussia would form the North German Confederation, a union between the North German states and Prussia, and Austria would be permanently excluded from German affairs. This treaty also abolished the German Confederation, as remember, Bismarck believed that the Congress of Vienna, the Congress that created the Confederation, was not the best for Germany, but that Germany being united by blood and iron was the way to go, and Prussia, forming the North German Confederation, was a step in uniting Germany through blood and iron, and not the majority decisions and speeches of the Congress of Vienna. Now that Prussia and Bismarck, or should I say the North German Confederation, or NGC and Bismarck, had consolidated northern Germany, exiled Austria from German affairs, and abolished the German Confederation, the NGC now had one more step to do before uniting Germany: to gain the trust and alliances with the southern German nations. And a way to do that was to defeat Germany's greatest enemy, France. Now that Bismarck and the NGC had one more step to do before uniting Germany, defeating France, the NGC needs to be the defender in the war. Why, you may ask? Because if the NGC is declared war on by France, the southern German nations will likely come to aid the NGC. And if the NGC and southern German nations defeat France, then the southern German nations will almost definitely unite with the NGC to form a united Germany. One problem though, the NGC needed to get France mad enough to declare war on them. But sure enough, an opportunity arrived. So, in 1870, Wilhelm I, the federal president of the NGC, was on his morning stroll in his vacation home when he was suddenly stopped by a French ambassador. The French ambassador demanded that Wilhelm would never allow a member of his royal house on the Spanish throne, because if that happened, an alliance with Germany and Spain would happen, and if that happened, France would likely be crushed by them in a two-front war. Wilhelm refused, and they both parted ways. When Bismarck was informed of this, the king gave permission to Bismarck to release an account of these events to the public, and Bismarck made these events seem like the ambassador was insulting and demanding things, not just from Wilhelm, but all German nations. When Bismarck's revised version of the events released to the public, France was extremely mad at the North German Confederation, and soon mobilized their army, and soon after declared war. And just as Bismarck planned, the southern German nations stood with the North German Confederation, and so the Franco-Prussian War had begun. Soon after France declared war on the German nations troops marched towards Paris. On the way there, they defeated the French Emperor Napoleon III's personal army in the Battle of Sedan and captured him. This demoralized the French and was the last breath of the Second French Empire. As soon after the French public heard of this, they overthrew the French Emperor and proclaimed a French Third Republic. This did not stop the Germans though, as they arrived at Paris and began to siege Paris. When the French soon realized that they could not hold Paris for much longer, they surrendered to the Germans in exchange for food rations being allowed into Paris. Soon after this, the French Third Republic signed peace with Germany in the Treaty of Frankfurt. In the Treaty of Frankfurt, Germany would finally be united as a single state, and France would recognize it and its king, Wilhelm I, as its ruler. Also, the French state that bordered Germany, Alsace-Lorraine, would be annexed into the new German state. Another thing that was included in the Treaty of Frankfurt was that the Papal States, a country who owned Rome, and also a French ally, would be annexed into Italy, a German ally. Overall, the formation of Germany finally ended the barrier of French continental dominance and would allow for Europe to exist without a major war for 43 years. The formation of Germany was also so immense that without it, modern history would seem like a fantasy when compared to our modern history. However, the formation of Germany would also begin a period of demise for France, she only barely winning in World War I and surrendering to the Germans in a mere 6 weeks in World War II. That was my National History Day project, a documentary, and thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.